Hi, I'm Denise Killian with TrainerTainment. Thanks so much for joining us. Today on ThinkTank Thursday, we like to take the opportunity to take some time and think about things that are important to the operation of your business. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsors who make this possible every single week. Thanks to Simnox, Redemption Plus, Roller, Betson, and Delta Strike. We appreciate your support. Now, this week on Think Tank Thursday, we're going to do something a little bit different. We decided we wanted to take a real deep dive into what does it cost to do business at your center. Do you use cash? Do you offer a credit card or digital services, or debit cards? What do each of those cost your business? The answers might surprise you. We invited our friends at Embed to present some information and the latest data on all three services in hopes that you can make some good, important decisions about how to operate your business. So now let's get right to our guest. Jeremy, thanks so much for joining us here on Think Tank Thursday. We're happy to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And so, Jeremy, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Embed.
Well, I came on in July and they've hired me as the payment gateway specialist, but they lovingly refer to me as the payments guru. I'm just here to take away the pains of processing. So for our operators that are wondering how they make their processing most efficient, that's me.
All right, fantastic. And I understand congratulations are in order. You've been named to the growth team, the transformation growth team.
Absolutely. We just built them and we're ready to unleash the transformation growth team at IOPA. We're really looking forward to that. We feel like we'll be able to bring a lot of efficiencies to our operators and just help out in a lot of different avenues.
Well, congratulations to that. Excited to see what you guys have in store. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today, Jeremy, that I know is top of mind for everyone in the FEC world and all of our owners, that the cost of doing business is, how much it takes to take a credit card payment or cash payment. What's the easiest? What's the best? And I know that as a society, we're kind of going and moving towards that cashless feel that, and I did a little research, and the estimations are that the point of sales cash transactions are estimated to be down to 12% in 2024. So that's a whole lot of people using a debit card or a credit card and not a lot of people using cash. So Absolutely. Behaviors are changing. But for FEC owners, I mean, what does that mean? How much is that costing them? And what that process is. So we're excited to have you on, Jeremy, to talk about this for all of our FEC owners. So, one of the most important questions, I think, and I know that when we talked before, preparing for this, that you have a whole bunch of information to help walk us through this and really see what those costs are. So, how, as fewer people are using cash, what are FEC owners doing and what should they be doing to sort of maximize their revenue with digital and cashless payments?
Yeah, I definitely have some information to share, and I'll throw this PowerPoint up if that's all right.
Perfect.
Can you see that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a visual learner, so I like to have the visuals up there. So you're absolutely right. We're seeing that cash is trending down and the digital payments are trending up a lot because it's convenient and it's the way that the world is working now. In a lot of ways, because of technology, it is pushing that away from cash, right? Technology has made it now to where you don't even have to have a wallet. You can just have your phone and should be able to go and pay for most things that you need almost anywhere. So as we're looking at that, when we start considering and thinking about, how do I really get the most out of credit cards? And should I be chasing that? Well, when we look at the numbers here, we see that cashless transactions jumped to 41% from 2015 to 2022. It's a big jump, and they're expected to increase by 80% from 2020 to 2025. And I know we look at that as a percentage, and sometimes that just doesn't ring a bell in our mind. But when we quantify that, the transactional value in 2023 of cashless payments is estimated at $9.5 trillion. So it is a huge chunk of change that we just don't want to miss out on as operators. So the other things we look at there are that cashless transactions really do result in higher revenue due to a higher average spend, right? Nearly all reports show that the average credit card transaction is at least double what the average cash transaction is. So specifically, we see that the average credit card transaction is around $31.95, right? So $32 versus the average transaction for cash sitting around $9.90. So there's a huge difference between that. There's definitely a clear indicator of which way we want to go. So if we're looking in terms of, hey, when I need to know how much is each body coming through my line worth, it depends on what they're paying with. So if we're pushing them towards cashless transactions, then we know that they are worth more. They're just willing to spend more there. So if we were start pushing them that way, we also know just by its nature that your typical credit card transaction is faster. It's cleaner. The average credit card transaction requires no employee interaction. The card never leaves the customer's hand with today's technology. And we've also found that a Visa survey verified that it takes about 542 hours to process $100,000 in cash payments compared to 189 hours to process the same amount in digital payments. So in other words, cash transactions take nearly 3 times as much time to process as digital payments do. When we start to quantify that, when we're an operator, we're always looking at reducing labor costs, right? That's always on the owner's mind. So if we take the average spend amounts we've discussed and we break them down, you can really put the cost of cash management into perspective. So if we're saying 3 times the time to take a cash transaction, if a credit card transaction takes 20 seconds, a cash transaction takes a full minute, and we have our employee that is handling that, and we're paying them $14 an hour, well, we're looking at 23 cents just in man hours to collect an average of $10 cash. And we're looking at 7 cents to collect $32 from a credit card transaction. So right there, cash management alone, when we put that side by side and start quantifying, okay, I did 5,000 transactions last month. So now let me put cash and credit side by side just in manpower. That's going to make a huge difference there, right? So we also have to look at the very end of this, right? When we come down to what really matters, we're not in a society anymore where we can say, well, this is how I want to take payment, so that's how we're going to do it. We're in a convenience society. So it really comes down to, what do your guests want? And now it's, how can your guests pay? About 1 in 4 Americans doesn't carry cash, right? So we're seeing some that are coming through and they're going, wait, well, if you can't accept card, I can't be a customer. So we have to be careful in that. So when we really narrow it down to, okay, well, I want my customers, I need customers. So I want to make sure I can take all of them the way that they are. That convenience too plays a big part in the mentality and the happiness of that customer. Are they going to come back? I recently visited a Wendy's and they were having system issues. So I came in line, there were 2 people ahead of me, 1 person working 2 registers. She looks over at me, she says, hey, I'm sorry, our systems are having issues. Would you be able to pay cash? We'd really appreciate it. I said, sure, no problem. I keep a $100 bill in my wallet for those issues, emergencies. That $100 bill has been in my wallet for a really long time. I was kind of disappointed that I was going to have to use it, but that was okay. The first person used their card because they want to see if it'll go through, right? It didn't. The guy says, I don't have cash. And so they said, go ahead and take your food, which is great for him. Good experience for him. The gal next to him, it's her and her 2 kids. She tries her card and it goes through. Good for them, not great for her. And you could see that she was frustrated with that experience. So you have 2 very different experiences there that happened because they just didn't have the avenue to correct it and they were flustered. So I came through, gave my order. They actually tried my card, it didn't work. And so she said, well, I have to take cash. I said, do you have change for 100? She said, sure. But then she realized that the register she had rung me up on couldn't handle cash. So she had to redo my order on the other cash register. So we're wasting time again. She takes my cash. She doesn't have cash in her till, so she has to get it from her manager. Her manager was really frustrated that she was having to make cash. I started to feel like this was all my fault. It was a great customer interaction. But they got me change and she asked me if the change was correct. And I imagine that she would have given me more if I had said, no, it's not, because that is just a weird concept, right? So when we really look at that, when it comes down to the very base of it, we drastically underestimate the convenience, ease, and speed of a digital payment, but it really far outpaces cash in terms of efficiency and savings in both time and money.
So, Jeremy, I am proudly one of those 1 in 4 Americans who never has cash. I have been told by my parents to, have that extra money tucked away in your wallet for cash just in case. I don't do it. I just don't. So I'm definitely somebody that pays with my debit card for everything. But one of the things that is kind of interesting about this is it is a convenience issue for the customer, certainly, to be able to just tap or insert your card and you're done. You don't have to think about it. And as a business owner, you're going to pay more, you're going to get more in that average transaction than if you have cash. But then comes the age-old question, as a business owner, you're paying a fee every time somebody like me walks into your business and uses their debit card or credit card to pay for the services. So that's a real struggle, I think, that a lot of business owners are going through and thinking about what they should be doing in terms of cash or digital payments or credit cards. Is that credit card fee that they have to pay to the banks for using the credit card? So is that something that I know a lot of people think about? Do you pass it on to the customer? Do you raise your prices? Do you set a minimum for using a credit card? Do you add on and tack on a credit card fee to the end of that bill? What do you do?
Well, that's a great question, and it is actually a hot topic for me. It's near and dear to my heart. So when we're looking at should I charge a fee, it really is becoming a hot topic in the industry, right? But I think it's important to look at credit cards a little bit deeper as well first, because when we look at this, right, we've got this stigma around cards, but merchants actually created that lending practice. That led to credit cards because it allowed them to do more business with these cash-strapped consumers. They saw that they got more money, so they would carry that debt in order to sell more goods. That eventually was replaced by credit cards. Banks took on that onus, right? So now when we're seeing a credit card transaction, we see that it's a higher value. What we need to realize mentally so that we understand this is that when that consumer comes in and they give you a credit card and pay you $200, they're not actually giving you $200. The bank is giving you $200. And then they're saying, hey, merchant, in order to be able to do this and get so much more revenue at your location, we're going to take on that risk. So they take on that risk and they charge a small fee. The stigma has become that is a really high fee. But when we compare it to cash, it's really very nominal. And the value that we reap from it is so much greater. So I wanted to dig into that a little more before we actually answer that, right? Should I charge a convenience fee? Because when it comes to the convenience fee, for so long, it's been called cash discounting, right? So you go to a gas station and the gas station outside their sign will say, hey, it's this much for credit, it's this much for cash. So they're trying to drive people to cash. Do we really want to do that? So let's look at a couple points of this. So if we're doing that, we charge a convenience fee, someone comes up to pay, and it has to say to them very clearly, if you pay credit card, you're paying this. If you pay cash, you're paying this. The credit card brands do not like convenience fees. And you can go to their site and you will see that stated very clearly. So they regulate it. They're always auditing merchants to see if they're not in compliance with these regulations, and you can get big fees. You can also have your merchant account shut down. So it's up there, the customer comes up and they know they're going to pay that. Do you risk turning them off in that? So American Express did a survey and they found that 86% of their cardholders stop shopping at a business that starts charging a convenience fee. And 78% of people said that they think it's unfair to pay extra just because of their method of payment. So we see right there that immediately you've got consumers that are coming in and saying, no, I do not like it. It doesn't mean that if you start charging a fee, you're going to see them. They're going to come up to your desk and say, hey, I'm done shopping here. They're just gone, right? And you could lose their family, you could lose their neighbors as they tell them, hey, I don't go there because of this. So you can never successfully track that. So the one pro you have is you could pass that fee on to your customer. That is the only pro. Everything else in a convenience fee is a con. And we can very logically say that because we know all of the dangers and the pitfalls of that. So that very easily leads to, yes, can we turn off our guests? Absolutely, 100%. So the next question we want to look at is, if we're charging that, we're getting 3%, right? But are we risking the loss of additional revenue? So they come in, they aren't paying for a credit card because they see that fee. So they're going to pay cash. Well, are they going to go back and recharge when they run out? Because a customer doesn't want to pay that fee. So they use cash, but the average cash transaction is $10. So it's already low. The chances that they will recharge a card are virtually non-existent. So we know that we're losing revenue because if we're driving them to cash, we already know on average that that's going to be 3 times less than it is for a credit card transaction. So absolutely, we're going to be losing revenue opportunity. So should you offer a discount for cash? Well, let's look at it as far as bodies through the door. So 1 of 4 Americans doesn't carry cash. You're one of them. So when you go in and if they're saying, hey, it's going to be pretty expensive, do you like the convenience fee?
Nope. In fact, I am also one of those 80+% of Americans who would stop going someplace if they tack on a convenience fee.
Yeah, I am with you. I track all of the companies that are doing that, and I am no longer their customer because they shouldn't be charging me to pay with the avenue that is used most widely in the industry right now. It's just not fair, and I don't like it. I think it's tacky. So the average American is coming through the door and carries $47 in cash if they're carrying cash. So you've got a 3 in 4 chance, which is okay, 75%. That's not bad, but you only got access to $47. The average American has an available credit limit of just over $30,000. So if we're not tapping into the $30,000, we're probably making a big mistake because that $30,000 is easier to spend just mentally. We don't see it for what it is. We hand over a card, we get back our goods, we're off and running. And if they run out, they're at your FEC and they're playing and they run out too fast, it's really easy to use that card again. When it's cash, you're back into line, you're waiting, and you're wondering, do I want to get rid of the rest of this? I have $15 left. I really don't want that gone because it gives us that feeling of anxiety. So we try to hold on to it. Mm-hmm. So it really puts it into perspective that, yeah, we are risking so much more than just a 3% fee that's there. So we also have to keep in mind that, again, the card brands do not like it, and they've allowed the convenience fee as long as there is an alternative payment method. Right now, credit cards are disappearing too. It's becoming a phone. So this gives the card brands an avenue to step in and say, hey, whether you offer an alternative payment method or not, doesn't matter. People aren't carrying cash anymore. So you can't charge them to pay. You cannot charge someone a fee to pay. You're already charging them a fee. So a fee on top of a fee just doesn't make sense. So there will come a point where the card brands are able to step up and say, no, this isn't a reality. So we need to stop that.
Oh, so, you know, as a consumer, it's definitely something that I know in my own behavior, if I actually do have cash for some crazy reason, I'm a lot more stingy with it than I would be throwing down my debit card. You know, because you actually see the cash in your hand versus you kind of know what your balance is on your debit card in your head, but you don't think about what you're spending as much. And you're just not as stingy with it, I think. So, yeah. And we already talked about how people are going to spend more with a digital payment or a card payment or a debit card versus cash. But one of the things I think I want to dig in a little bit deeper with you here is what cash is actually costing businesses. Because I've never thought about the breakdown of the amount of time it takes to do a cash transaction with your, you know, employees and to the customer, and the fees associated with it. What do those look like?
That's a great question. And again, coming back to a mental game, for some reason, we've forgotten that we pay so much to handle our cash. We take that $20 bill and for some reason we think we get to keep all of that. But the truth is the costs associated with handling cash are really significant. And the IHL group did a great study recently about the cost of handling cash specifically. What they found is that the average cost of handling cash across several industries is 9.1%. Now, grocery stores are really good at it, so they brought that rate down. But when we look at all the industries that they've defined there, FECs fit pretty solidly in the upper scale of around 12.9% on the cost for handling cash. And the factors they brought into this are starting and rebuilding a drawer, closing a drawer, pickups, change orders, audits or discrepancies, preparing coordinating deposits, cash in transit, like an armored truck, getting that stuff to the bank. Banks don't want to handle cash anymore, so those fees are definitely moving up. And then your inevitable cash shrink, right? You're going to have some fraud, you're going to have some cash. It disappears. We don't know where it went, but it's gone. So we have to account for that now. So in all of that, it's really important to note that 12.5% does not include the employee hours needed to accept and make change for cash. So there is a big difference there, right? So just modeling that out really quickly, if you have a location that it took $2 million in annually, and we know that they're taking 35% in cash and they're taking 65% digital, the cost of that cash is at 12.5%. And if you're working well with your processor, you're probably at around a 3.2 to 3.4% effective rate. So to take in $700,000 in cash, you're paying $87,000 in fees versus taking 1.3 million in digital and paying $44,000 in fees. So absolutely, there's a fee associated with taking a cashless payment, but the fees associated with taking cash that we all know as a business owner, we can take that down and we can quantify it. We're paying those bills. We're seeing that cash disappear. We see the time now. It's just not worth it. So it's faster, it's smoother, and our yield off of a cashless payment is far greater than it is off of a cash payment.
That's just fascinating to look at. And I think it's something that a lot of business owners don't break down in those terms because you don't see necessarily that the cash costs like you do in a written statement from your merchant, from your banks that are coming in from your merchant payments. So that's a fascinating way to look at things. So Jeremy, we've got about 5 minutes left. So want to take a look at, how do you integrate some of these things into your FECs?
Well, it's important to note on that the industry continues to move and improve, right? So payments used to be a separate thing. Now with your system, you can integrate those payments in and make it one seamless transaction. When we're looking at efficiencies, it's always great, right? A business owner wants to save more time, save more money because it means more money in the business's pocket. So we want to help with that. We've partnered with several companies that offer these payment integrations, and they benefit in a lot of ways, right? So the integration itself makes it so it's all one seamless transaction. You're not interacting with the computer and then the credit card device and then back to the computer. It's all just one thing. The computer interacts with the device, which sends the payment back to the computer. So you have ease of use. It just cuts the time down. Automatic reconciliation is going to save you tons of time to a point where even if you just move from standalone to an integration, the reconciliation will save you thousands annually just in time. You're going to reduce your errors because you don't have to go and enter that amount into the credit card device anymore. So you're not going to accidentally undercharge or overcharge your customer and get them frustrated there. There's additional features that are available through some of our companies that we would definitely suggest people call us and look into. We're happy to share information on that. GPI specifically has what they call customer engagement suite, which includes reputation management, analytics, customer intelligence, and it's at an amazing price. At $45 a month versus if you put them all together somewhere else, it would probably cost you at least $350. The kiosks with an integration really act like a virtual salesperson. Someone goes up, no employee man hours spent there, but they interact with it and it just automatically reconciles with the entire system. And then mobile wallet is an addition there, right? So we have the integration that works with mobile wallet. Mobile wallet just turns itself into a cash registers because it puts the power into your customer's hands. Goes right onto their phone. They can upload their cards, they can reload them, they can track them for their kids, which is great because kids are great at leaving those cards behind. And if you've lost it, it's gone for good because someone else has benefited from that loss there. But we're also seeing that a lot of people are adding that reload outside of the venue. So 60% of these reloads are happening offsite, which is a big deal. And that's parents just prepping, right? I know I'm going there. I don't have to stand in line. I'm going to load these cards. We're going to walk right in and we're going to start playing. And if we run out too fast, I'm just going to use this app and I'm going to reload again. So it saves us more man hours, right? So it's a part of taking advantage of those digital transactions. Even on top of that, we've seen that the average credit card transaction is about $32. With mobile wallet, we're seeing that the average reload is almost $51. So people are they're spending more money there. So makes it easier. It saves on that terror that we're going to lose those cards. It also makes it easier to actually revisit because you'll always have the card. It's there digitally. So there's lots of avenues to take advantage of that integration. And absolutely, as an operator, we should be looking for those things because it adds extreme efficiency that we just aren't quite aware of. But I'm here to help people understand where they can take advantage of that and maybe which company is best for them.
These are just some amazing statistics and numbers that, go against sort of the grain of, I think most people think business owners abhor the charges that they're charged by the banks, and want to find a way to reload that, and but also think that cash is the better option. But it's just fascinating to really, when you dig deep and think about, I mean, how many times have we all been at a register and actually paid cash and they gave us the wrong change, or they, it took 10 times longer. It's almost like when you go to a register now and someone's paying cash, it's going to take longer if there's a line, because it just does take longer. And it's almost like, you remember checks and checkbooks. You remember that? And the amount of time it took to write a check. Even if you had preloaded it to the location and signed your name and dated it, but just the filling in the total amount and then writing out the total amount, you're like, oh my gosh, can I see your ID? And that process. Cash has almost become that now compared to just tapping your card. Maybe that's explaining why I'm one of 4 Americans who doesn't carry cash.
Might be.
So Jeremy, tell us a little bit more about how people can get in touch with you, how people can get in touch with Embed, and then we're going to talk about IAPA for just a second.
Well, you can find me on our website. You can also scan this and it'll take you to my contact information. I'm happy to talk about any questions that our operators have about payments. I know they can be confusing, they can be frustrating, and we're here to help them. I recently worked with a group that will be saving about $57,000 annually when they switch over to a different processor. And it's just something they needed to do, right? They're all taking credit cards. Doesn't make sense for us to pay more than we actually have to. So I'm happy to help with that. Scan this, look for me on our website, and we will definitely be at IAPA.
Now, a little birdie told me that you guys have a different booth this year.
We do, and it's very pretty. Our team has worked really hard to get this going. Not the transformation growth team, our marketing team. They have been hard at it. They've got it packed up. It's on its way there. We definitely want everyone to come by and see it. Some of my favorite are all of our wearables. So come by. We've got a vending machine that kicks it out. It's really high tech. It's awesome. Come by, talk to me, see our team, and let us know what we can do to help.
All right. Well, fantastic. Well, Jeremy, TrainerTainment's going to be at IAPA. You guys are going to be at IAPA. Y'all come see us both. And Jeremy, I can't wait to see the wearables and check those out in person at IAPA as well. Thanks so much for your time and joining us. This is some fascinating information that I know a lot of owners will really be able to digest and help them make some good decisions about their business. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. That's all the time we have for today. I don't know about you, but I was shocked to learn how much it costs to use cash as your point of sales. Some interesting things to think about, certainly. Don't forget to come see us at IAPA The TrainerTainment booth, as well as Embed, will also be there. If you have a Think Tank Thursday idea, please reach out to us at Candy, C-A-N-D-I, at trainertainment.net. And we'd love to take a look at your ideas and your thoughts. But as always, thanks to our digital sponsors, Simnox, Redemption Plus, Roller, Betson, and Delta Strike for the opportunity to bring you Think Tank Thursday every single Thursday. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.